You look at the surge in autoimmune conditions and allergies, they've increased far.
I am quite honestly not sure what this clip is supposed to be getting at. So first it talks about the increase in allergies in autoimmune disease. Those are caused by the immune system. So in the case of autoimmune disease, the immune system is overactive and starts attacking self cells, such as in the case of arthritis or MS. So that's when something goes wrong in the development of immune cells, and instead of recognizing your own cells as self, they are recognized as pathogens, so your immune system attacks those cells. In the case of allergies, it is caused by when your immune system recognizes something harmless, such as pollen or peanuts, as something harmful, and they think it is a pathogen, so it causes an immune reaction to something harmless that it doesn't need an immune reaction for. That is how allergies and autoimmune disease works. And in this start of the clip, it talks about how allergies and autoimmune disease are increasing too fast to be caused purely by genetics. And that is not entirely inaccurate. They are increasing specifically in more Western culture, Western areas like Canada, North America, the United States, England, all of that. And that is likely due to over sanitization of things. So in less westernized countries, one of the examples is India, they have a much lower rate of allergies. This is likely due to the presence of parasites there, because there are a lot more parasitic organisms in certain places than there are in, for example, Canada. We have largely in Canada eradicated parasites, and also Canada tends to be colder and less moist and not as good environment for parasites to live in. Parasites tend to like tropical climates more. But the anti-parasitic immune response, specifically with the IgE antibodies, that is also responsible for allergies. When the IgE response does not have any parasites to respond to, it can sometimes decide that something like pollen is a parasite and cause allergies that way. Same thing again somewhat with autoimmune response. Your immune system, due to less prevalence of pathogens, it is not getting trained properly and has a higher chance of recognizing self cells as pathogenic and causing autoimmune disorders. This video then goes on to talk about dysbiosis, or dysregulation of the gut microbiome, which is actually linked to multiple autoimmune diseases. Specifically, it can do things to the symptoms of MS or arthritis, and is also linked quite heavily to leaky gut syndrome and irritable bowel syndrome. So yes, your gut microbiome is much linked to your immune system and immune health, and dysregulation of your gut microbiome, it can affect autoimmune disorders as well as allergies. But then it goes on to say it has a decrease in healthy gut microorganisms and an increase in inflammatory pathogens, which I'm not entirely sure if this is what they're getting at, but the pathogens themselves do not cause inflammation. The inflammation in the gut and everything, the inflammatory response is the immune response. The pathogens themselves do not cause inflammation. When a pathogen is detected, the immune cells go over to that pathogen and start the immune response to get rid of that pathogen, which then causes the inflammation by releasing inflammatory cytokines. So I don't know quite if this is what they were saying exactly, but pathogenic microbes do not themselves cause inflammation. It is the immune response to these microorganisms that cause the inflammation. It also talks about short-chain fatty acids, but doesn't explain what they are or what they do. So short-chain fatty acids are produced by your gut microbiome when the beneficial bacteria in there help digest your food. So things that are a bit harder to break down, like some carbs and proteins and stuff, like the things that are harder to break down, these gut microbiomes help break them down, and it is a symbiotic relationship within your gut. So they break down some more difficult to digest food and release these short chain fatty acids, which are beneficial in reducing inflammation and can also help reduce obesity and a bunch of other things. So these short chain fatty acids are definitely important, and they are produced by your gut microbiome. But the gut microbiome, when it's off balance, there can be like issues with producing these short chain fatty acids, which can also lead to like inflammatory responses and all that. So that's just kind of what short chain fatty acids are. Then kind of some of the last things the video mentions is that increase in inflammation can cause oxidative stress, which is true, which damages DNA, which is true, which can, it doesn't mention in the video, but damaged DNA can then lead to types of cancers, and that is not good. We do not like cancers. So, like, there wasn't a ton of, like, actual wrong information in the initial video clip. It was just kind of all over the place and not very coherent. Like, it started talking about allergies and autoimmune diseases, and then it flipped to, like, aging at the very end. So this is kind of all over the place and a little bit incorrect information about allergies and, like, inflammatory pathogens and stuff like that. So it was just kind of all over.